Good morning. Erev Shabbos, Kaddish, Shabbos before, um, Shabbos before Yud Aleph Nisan. It's also the Shabbos that those places where there's a Rosh before Shabbos, talk about Chas Pesach. So we're going to make a reference to Pesach somewhere in our. No, I don't think so. I'm sorry. I thought it was a different studio. Okay. Rambam Hilches Gezeilah Aveda. That's what we're learning. Perik Yud Aleph Halacha Gimel today. It's the second perik of the Rambam that we're learning. So the Rambam writes the following: Avedas Hagoy Muteres. The Aveda of a goy. We're learning the halachas of Shabbos Aveda. So the Rambam Avedas Hagoy Muteres. The Aveda of a goy is permissible. Shenema Avedas Achicha. Listen, Lashon Muteres is some interesting Lashon. I mean, what's Muteres? To say Areza Shalai, like he writes in Losh Shainis and Derechal, we find that we learn, anybody learns Elevatzias, and I think everybody does when they start learning, that's what you start with. You start off with when it's something is yours, it's yours. You don't have to return it. Then he goes a step further. In the contrary to Muteres, which if he would have said Areza Shalai, it made more sense. Amachzira Areza Oiver Aveira. The one who returns it is transgresses a sin. Strengthening the hands of the evil. Then it's okay. Then it's not only that, it's good. It's meshubach. You're praiseworthy. Oh. Talk about Pesach. Lashon Agoda, Reza Meshuvach. So you can connect it to Pesach. But L'cheira is a pella. The word Reza Meshuvach, the Agoda, makes sense. Because there it doesn't say Cholam Saper B'Tzis and Shayim Reza Meshuvach. Cholam Marbe. Now Meshuvach is always, you do more. But hey, Mekadosh Shem Shemayim. What? Of course. There's a mitzvah Kiddush Shem Shemayim. Now, another problem here, the Rambam is, what overcomes what? Machzik Yidei Risha is the problem. The fact that you're giving him back L'Kadosh Shem doesn't take away from the Machzik Yidei Risha. So how did that just suddenly fall to the side? And then he writes another line. The Mokim Sheyesh Chil Hashem Avedasei Asura Chayav Lachzir. There's a Chil Hashem. Again, Kiddush Hashem Areza B'Shubach. Chil Hashem, Avedasei Asura comes Asur. Why is Avedasei Asura? Chayav Lachzir. Chayav Lachzir. What's that? It's not that Aveda becomes Asur. Aveda didn't become Asur. There's a bit of Chil Hashem. Chil Hashem is Asur. What Aveda is Asur? You should say, Makim Sheyesh Chil Hashem. Chayav Lachzira. Why is Avedasei? It's not an Isra Aveda. It's a Chayav of Achzara. It's a Kiddush Hashem. What's the? It's not a din Hilchas Aveda. Good. You want to tell me that you Chayav Lachzira? Good. Right. Chayav Lachzira. In other words, it's not an Isser on the Aveda. It's not an Aveda Isser. It's Aveda. It's a Chil Hashem Isser. That's where the focus should be. And he seems to put our focus on the Aveda. Okay. For transparency, the Rambam uses the Lashon HaGemara. Gemara Kuf Yud Gimel in Baba Kama writes Avedasei Muteres. Okay, so we can assume that the Rambam used the same Lashon of the Gemara and stayed with the Lashon HaGemara. And the Gemara says like this: how do we know that? Amar Rav Chonon bar Guye, Amar Rav Minay in Laveda Saknani Shimuteres. How do we know that the Aveda of a Goy, Canaan, is Muteres? Shenemel Chol Aveda Zachicha. Chicha Atamaz L'Knan. Maybe that's only talk about that where it's not in your hands yet, but you know that's the difference. But if it's in your hands, you got to bring it back. That's also that's all Eliodemash. It's an interesting discussion. I mean, if it's Avodas Muteris, where is there a din of Soili Yoda? Why wouldn't it make a difference? Okay, that's not for now. Tanya Rabbi Pinchas ben Yaireh, the Gemara says, "Makom shesh chil Hashem, afil avidos yasir." Even as Aved is us. Even okay, but now doesn't say that. Makom shesh chil Hashem, avidos yasir, v'chayiv lachzir. I'm right. Two things: avidos yasir and chayiv lachzir. And the Gemara Sanhedrin is another mucker of what he says. Amagza Avedel and Nafaim Vov. Amagza Avedel and Nachri. All of our Kosev. Oimel Leman Svei Saroves Atzmeya Le'yei Vashem Sleach Lei. So the Pasuk and Parshas Nitzavim, the Pasuk tells you that you're adding insult to injury, and David will not forgive you. Why? What's wrong with that? So the Rambam wrote, because he's Machzik Yidei She'elam. However, Rashi there doesn't say that. Rashi says a different thing. Machzer Avedel Nachri. Like Rashi Hishve v'chiber Nachli Yisrael. He equated a Nachri to a Jew. Umare ba'atzmen she'ashavas Aveda eine chashuva le'mitzvahs b'irei she'af l'Nachri yisekei shle'nitzav aleim. The fact it's not because of Machzik Yidei She'elam. It's because you're showing that it's not a mitzvah. You're doing it out of consciousness, social justice, and that's a chesar, which is a very unique concept. But that's a concept that the punkt here shtolz das avek. But that's what he says. I mean, again, that needs its own discussion. Why specifically here? I mean, you don't find that in other places necessarily. That this mash hishvel v'chiber nachli Yisrael. But that's the machlekes Rashi and the Rambam, and why you can't give, why it's not good to give back a aveda to another. Either in Machzik Yidei She'elam, or you're showing a lack of mitzvah here. You're Hishve Nachri Yisrael. Okay, that's what we have to understand. I want to see if we mentioned all the issues that there are here. This diuk that we said, why the Rambam says both things, Avedos Eser, Chayav Lachzir, it seems that the Beis Yosef in Shulchan Aruch Smireish Samach Vav seems to allude to that, and he wants to say that Chayav Lachzira is not talking about once it came to your hand, that you have to go after it. And he says, why do you have to go after it? Once the Kil Hashem comes, I mean, if I don't want to pick up an Aveda develop this, I'm not obligated. I don't need the headache. So he says, because it's talking matzah namakim of Rav Yisrael, and the guy will think that the Jew stole it from him. So why is he saying that? Because he's bothered by the same question. Why does it say both? The only problem is that you have to then say that it's talking about Rav Yisrael. The Rambam makes no mention of that it's talking about Rav Yisrael. Okay. So now we said that if he was Machzer L'Kadish Hashem, it's Meshubach. So we asked what the Meshubach fits in there. But we also asked that bottom line, he's still being Machzik Yidei She'elam. So it's interesting. According to Rashi, it's very good. What did Rashi say? The Chazarn is because you're doing something equating a guy to a Yid. You're not anymore equating. Because you're doing it for the sake of the Yid. You're doing it for the sake of the Eibush. Yeah. So perhaps we can get involved over here and and explain that, and there's a Bach that would fit into it, but I don't want to get into that because that will take us into a sugya that we don't have the time for. But I want to ask the Shaila. If somebody goes and gives back an Aveda to a guy, nice guy, besides, he's an Aveda, he wants to give it back. Forget about the Isurim involved of whatever. Just talk about the Indian Shalatz. There were no Isurim, just focus on the Indian. Did he fulfill a mitzvah of Shabbos Havei? In other words, is this like we find many mitzvahs that are parted from? But if you're Mekayim it, you get schai, and then you did a mitzvah. Women are parted from certain mitzvahs. According to many people, if they do it, they make a bracha. But kind of a lot of mitzvahs that you do get parted from, but in other words, is this a tour? Or no, I gave a gift to a guy. I gave a gift to a guy, and the Bach speaks about whether you were kind of Aveda. He holds that even like you're not kind of Aveda. It fits very well to this first. But you could say even according to Bach that the Torah took away. There's no din hashav Aveda. It's beyond hashav, and therefore what do you think? You're a nice guy. The great thing. You're a great person. You're doing nice things. Obviously, besides the fact that there are problems with it, but you're a nice guy. Perhaps that's the machlekes, the Rambam Rashi, and it'll fit very well into the Lashon Hara. The Rambam says that yes, you're guys are mufke from Hashavas Vayim. That's why he says in order the reason it's how can it be usher if it's not mufke? I mean, it's not usher for a woman to go hit Yeshiva. The answer is because it must be a problem that I am doing. I am being Machzik Kidei Rishayel. That's a different problem. Okay, now that's why it's not that's why it's forbidden. Rashi holds you mufka. There's no chiyuv. There's no Hashavas Haveda by a guy. There's no Hashavas Haveda by a guy. So when you do Hashavas Haveda, what are you doing? You're showing that there is. I'm equating that I'm doing something, even though I have no chiyuv and no accomplishment with what I'm doing. So I'm being mashve a guy to a yid. So that's why it would not be correct. Oh, so now we can start getting involved, at least according to the Rambam, if we say that. The Lashon Muteres, the Lashon Isur. We're not dealing here with Dafka Chiyam, especially according to the Bach that we mentioned that he holds you're not kind of Daveda. But again, even without that. So first, let's go to the Lashon of Rabbi Moshe Perlstein. The word is that once you should give it back because you don't want to make a Chil Hashem. So now kicks in the din of Hashavas Haveda, because there is a din of Hashavas Haveda by that. Just important from it. But since you have it's a bit of a chiddush, I can tell you now, that because the side reason, the reasons that we wouldn't want you to give it back, or even if you don't want to give it back, you don't have to. But once you have to, now you could say that there's a Avedosai, it's a Chiv on the Aveda now. Now kicks in the fact that there does exist the Kiyum of a mitzvah of Hashavas Haveda, and you shouldn't be mevatel that mitzvah. Now the tour that we have, the Muteres, became bottled. And that's why the Chayiv L'Hachzira could be that the Rambam is adding the Chayiv L'Hachzira to tell you, go be Machzir. There's a Chiyuv. Now you should be Mekayim the mitzvah. Obviously, it's not the same Chiyuv as by a Jew, but there's a go be Mekayim the mitzvah. Chai Lachzir is the stress that they're like a mitzvah. So that's why he says the Mokim so then we asked the question, what first of all what's the Lashon Meshubach? And what's the idea that when you're being Machzik Gedei Rishayla? So first of all, the word is that remember the Kohen when you give it back, you're Mekayim a mitzvah of Shabbos Havei. You just don't have to. You're part of it's Muteres. What? And we don't want you to give it back for a reason, Machzik Gedei Rishayla. But L'Kadosh Hashem, you can L'Kadosh Hashem by Rishayla also. So that is the Hareza Meshubach. That the word is you are being Meshubach, that you are now being Mekayim a mitzvah that you weren't Mechuyev. You're being Mekayim the mitzvah of Shabbos Haveda that you weren't Mechuyev. That's the Meshubach on the Shabbos Haveda. And mainly that's the Meshubach is that you're doing something more than you should be, than you have to do. That's the Hidur. It's a Hidur in Shabbos Haveda. Good. Mitzad the fact that we said before that you're that there's a that's a Kiddush Hashem. Sorry, that's a Kiddush Hashem. Chil Hashem becomes an Issa, but Kiddush Hashem there's a Meshubach in the mitzvah of Shabbos Haveda. Again, it's not simple, but it would fit nicely. Yeah. So basically, that what comes out of this, that a Shabbos Haveda, and that's again in the Lashon that we started off, Muteres instead of Arei Shalai is also very good. Shabbos Haveda means that Arei Shalai is instead of Arei Shalai, because we're not talking here about like in the cases where there's yush. There's no mitzvah. What do you do? You stop one of it. But that's why Arei Shalai. Here, the word Arei Shalai won't fit. It's only with teres. So in other words, when you pick up that Aveda, there's an achrayus, and therefore there's now where there's a makom atzayirich, you're mechuyev lachzir it. So that comes out the Lashon Rambam. So if so, based on this, I think we have a shtickle ma'alach in Rambam. So let's read the Rambam one more time based on this. Aveidas hagay muteres, shnem aveidas achich. That's muteres. But avada, if you do it, you're not giving him a matana. You're a mitzvah. However, if you're going to want to do it, don't do it. But and Gezeilah kindness Hashem, so then even the Rishei Elam are going to benefit from it because those Rishei Elam are now going to benefit. So you're not being machzik. Forget. You're possibly undoing something in Rishei Elam. And they will look at a Jew different by affect them. They'll trust the Jews and realize that a Jew is a trustworthy person. So you're doing Kiddush Hashem, and raise a Meshubach, that you're Mekayim a mitzvah of Shabbos Havei. That you are doing something you didn't have to do. And you're doing it. It's a shrach in Mekayim mitzvah. So that's the Hareza Meshubach we said from Pesach, which is usually said when you're doing more than the Chiyuv exactly. No, Kiddush Hashem. It's a Kiddush Hashem. And the Malkim Sheyesh Chil Hashem, which therefore now you should not leave, you now should return mitzad the Chil Hashem. Now you could say, in such a case, the Aveda, the mitzvah of Shabbos Haveda kicks in. Why? Because you can't walk past it. Once you can't walk past it. Once you're mechuyev to give it back with other things, now you have a chiyuv in Aveda. So now that muteres is gone. Again, this is a chiddush to say that because mitzad Chil Hashem, you must give it back. So that also requires, so that requirement makes that we don't, you have a chiyuv Hashemus Aveda. We didn't have the chiyuv mitzad. The mitzvah is not a mitzvah chiyuv, it's only a mitzvah kiyuvis. Now it becomes a mitzvah chiyuvis, so to speak. And the chayiv lachzira, you mekayim a mitzvah of Hashemus Aveda. And then there's a chiyuv to mekayim this mitzvah now. In other words, now that you have to do it, the chiyuv Aveda comes in. Again, I'm not convinced of that, but it may at least fit into his words and perhaps explain what he's saying. Okay. Anyway, everybody have a great Shabbos and Hatzlachadik Shabbos in the preparations for Pesach. We will, and that's Hashem, another have a share for next Friday, even though it's Erev Pesach. It's the Erev Pesach, but it's a lot it's Erev Pesach. So we'll try to get it in, and I know there's going to be hard for anybody to listen to it, but a lot. And then while I guess either you're burning the chametz, you can listen, and or while you're making matzahs, if you make some matzahs, or whatever is it that you do, or checking the mar, it's a good distraction. Anyway, Hatzlacha Rabbah and a good Ner Shabbos.